Imagine thinking your two best friends are your safe place. The people who know all your secrets, who promise loyalty, who laugh with you late into the night. Now imagine those very same friends luring you into the darkness and leaving you there forever. This is the heartbreaking and chilling story of Skylar Neese, a 16-year-old girl whose trust in her closest companions led her into a trap so cruel, so shocking, that even seasoned investigators struggled to understand how two teenage girls could commit such an unthinkable act. Tonight, we're uncovering a betrayal so twisted, it left an entire community asking, how could friendship turn into murder? Skylar Annette Neese was born on February 10, 1996, in Morgantown, West Virginia. By all accounts, she was the kind of teenager you'd expect to find in any suburban high school. Bright, witty, and fiercely loyal to the people she loved. Skylar was an only child, the apple of her parents' eyes, and she often spent her time hanging out with her two best friends, Shelia, Eddy, and Rachel Shoaf. The three girls were inseparable. They went to school together, hung out after class, and had countless sleepovers. On social media, they plastered their timelines with pictures of one another, always smiling, always showing the world their unbreakable bond. But if you look closer, behind those curated images of teenage friendship, cracks had already begun to form. Friends from school described the trio as toxic. Skylar was often caught between Shelia's dominant personality and Rachel's quieter but equally secretive nature. Skylar herself hinted at this on Twitter, where she wrote cryptic posts about betrayal, lies, and backstabbing. One post read, "Sick of being the second choice." Another, "You do shit like that and expect me not to say anything?" Her words would later haunt everyone who read them. On July 5, 2012, Skylar's life changed forever. That evening, after finishing a late shift at Wendy's, she returned home to her family's apartment in Star City. Her parents kissed her goodnight, assuming their daughter was safe in her bed. But just after midnight, Skylar snuck out of her bedroom window. A surveillance camera from the apartment complex captured her slipping into the back seat of a silver Toyota Corolla. Inside were her best friends, Shelia, Eddy, and Rachel Shoaf. It was supposed to be just another late-night drive, something the girls had done countless times before. But this ride would be Skylar's last. By morning, Skylar hadn't returned home. Her parents grew worried when she didn't show up for her work shift, something entirely out of character. They called her friends. Shelia claimed she had dropped Skylar off near her house the night before, insisting everything was fine. Rachel said she hadn't seen Skylar at all, but deep down, Skylar's parents knew something was wrong. Their daughter had vanished. As days turned into weeks, Skylar's disappearance captured the attention of the entire town. Flyers were posted, candlelight vigils were held. Skylar's parents went on TV, pleading for answers. And through it all, Shelia Eddy, one of the girls last seen with Skylar -- stood at their side. She even helped distribute missing posters. She cried on social media, posting messages like, "I miss you so much, Skylar," and "Please come home." But investigators noticed something unsettling. Shelia's story never seemed to match Rachel's. The details were fuzzy, the timelines inconsistent. Still, without hard evidence, suspicion remained just that, suspicion. For months, Shelia continued to play the role of the grieving best friend. But what no one realized was that she was hiding a monstrous secret. 6 months later, in January 2013, the case took a shocking turn. Rachel Shoaf, overwhelmed with guilt, broke down during a therapy session. Trembling and tearful, she confessed the unthinkable. She and Shelia had murdered Skylar. According to Rachel, the girls had lured Skylar out that night under the pretense of a joyride. They drove her to a remote wooded area across the Pennsylvania state line. Once there, under the cover of darkness, they pulled out kitchen knives hidden in their hoodies. When Skylar turned to get back into the car, Shelia counted to 3. Together, they lunged at their best friend, stabbing her over and over as she screamed for her life. Skylar fought back fiercely, but she was outnumbered. Her final words were chillingly simple: "Why?" But the girls never gave her an answer. After Skylar's death, Shelia and Rachel dragged her body deeper into the woods, covering her with branches and leaves. They left her there, alone, in the cold night air. When detectives asked Rachel why, her answer was chilling in its simplicity: "We just didn't like her anymore." Rachel's confession cracked the case wide open. Undercover officers wired her to lead investigators to the burial site. In March 2013, after months of searching, authorities finally discovered Skylar's remains in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Shelia, still pretending to be innocent, continued posting on social media, even tweeting, "We really did go on 3." A cryptic reference to the countdown she and Rachel used to begin their attack. But by May 2013, the facade shattered. Police arrested both girls. The community, who had once seen them as typical teenagers, was stunned. How could 2 ordinary high school girls carry out such a cold, calculated murder? In 2013, Rachel Shoaf pled guilty to second-degree murder. She openly admitted her role, weeping in court as she described the killing. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after 10. Shelia Eddy, however, showed no remorse. In court, she smirked, twirled her hair, and acted as though the entire proceeding was an inconvenience. Witnesses described her as cold, detached, even arrogant. She pled guilty to first-degree murder and received a life sentence with parole eligibility after 15 years. Skylar's parents sat in the courtroom, listening to the horrific details of their daughter's final moments. They described the experience as soul-shattering, but they vowed to keep Skylar's memory alive. The murder of Skylar Neese sent shockwaves across the country. How could 2 teenagers, girls who laughed, danced, and posed for selfies, turn into killers? Experts pointed to peer pressure, toxic friendships, and the dark side of teenage jealousy. But no psychological explanation could ever justify the brutality of what Shelia and Rachel had done. Skylar's parents have since pushed for legislative changes in West Virginia, including laws to improve how police handle missing children's cases. Her memory has become a symbol, a reminder that evil can sometimes wear the face of friendship. Skylar Neese's story is one of devastating betrayal. She trusted her best friends, the people she thought she could count on most. Instead, they led her into the woods and never brought her back. Her final question, why, still echoes to this day. A question with no real answer except that sometimes the darkest monsters are the ones we think we know best. And while justice has been served, the chilling truth remains. Skylar's story is not unique. Across the world, hidden behind smiles and promises, lies the possibility of betrayal so deep it turns deadly. Which begs the question, how well do you really know the people you call your friends? Because in our next story, we'll uncover another betrayal. This time, not between friends, but between a mother and the daughter she swore to protect. And trust me, it's even darker.